Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese, episode 550. I am your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Sellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. Every week on the Free Cheese podcast, we discuss a single game, share our time with it, review it, and then rank it on a list that we call The List. You can find that list over at thefreecheese.com/The List. And today, we're adding Syndicate to that list. Matt, Syndicate is a reimagining of a beloved classic video game. What's your favorite reimagining of a beloved classic?
Man, I wish I would had time to brainstorm because Final Fantasy VII Remake comes to mind for obvious reasons.
Not a bad, nor is it an untimely answer. I'll give you another minute to think while I share. Syndicate, the game that we're talking about, starred Brian Cox, and one of my favorite reimaginings of a beloved classic is a Brian Cox movie called The Ring from 2002. In fact, after watching The Ring in its original form, I liked the American remake a lot better. I thought Brian Cox was perfectly haunting, as he often is. Video game-wise, though, I don't know. It's, I can't think of many. Well, you know what? Resident Evil 2. There you go. That's the answer. Because that was the one that finally got me into Resident Evil. Because I'd only ever, toyed with them from time to time and tried them out. But that 2 remake was the one that was like, oh, okay, I need to see all of this. And from 2, I played 3 and 7 and 8 and 4.
So I liked 4 a lot. That came across my mind.
Oh, yeah, the 4
recent
remake,
memory.
too.
Yeah, I don't have a better answer, I don't think.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like, so here's a fun thing you might not know about me, but at some point in my life, and I would say in the last 12 months, I made a spreadsheet that I didn't share with anybody. I just made it for myself because I wanted to see what the math shook out to be. I felt like we were getting to a point where we had a lot of remakes and remasters and all of that stuff. And I was curious looking at the Nintendo console life cycle, the percentage of first-party developed/published games per Nintendo platform that were new IP versus remakes on each platform. And I did it all the way back to GameCube. And I don't remember the numbers. I can share the spreadsheet if you're curious. But despite all of that, and despite having that fatigue of remakes, here I am, and I can think of 3 off the top of my head. Or even not even remakes, but just reimaginings. Because Syndicate, the game we're talking about today, more of a, hey, we've got this IP, what can we do with it? Well, no one's going to buy a game like that in 2012, so let's do something else. And something else they did. Let's jump into it. Syndicate, developed by Starbreeze Studios, published by Electronic Arts, released on the PC, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3 on February 21st, 2012. Matt, if you haven't prepared your beverage, feel free to sit back and enjoy, because we've got quite a lengthy back of the box. Are you ready?
Okay, yeah.
Top of the box, Business is War. Middle of the box, a 4-player co-op experience. Intense future sci-fi action, visceral gunplay with stunning visuals. That's it.
I'm done with
the
my drink.
Box. Feel free to go grab another drink. I'm sure it's gone. Yeah, shortest back of the box we've had in quite a while.
It's telling of the game, in a way.
Boy.
You know?
Oh, man. So, I guess, let's just get this up front, because I feel like
Well, hold on.
it's going to be painted throughout the episode. You didn't like the game.
there's I don't hate it. There's definitely problems.
All right. I agree.
It's below average.
Okay. My review is exactly average. I feel like I was kind of split right in the middle. It is. I think it's a perfectly solid video game that I did not hate my time with. I wished it did some things better. I wished it did some things differently, but it was not bad. And yeah, more on that as we go through it. We'll dive into the deep side of it. But what is Syndicate? How would you describe Syndicate as a video game besides the fantastic 3 sentences we got on the back of the box?
A story-focused linear first-person shooter. Did I say cyberpunk in there?
You didn't, but if you add cyberpunk, I think
cyberpunk, yeah, that's
done.
Single-player cyberpunk linear first-person shooter.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Then what was Syndicate?
Oh, the old one?
Yes.
I actually don't know. It was like an RT. I know it was like top-down, like strategy RTS.
Yeah,
is it RTS?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's more. It's described as an action strategy game.
Okay.
But yeah, it's isometric view, developed by a studio called Bullfrog. It's set in a dystopian future where mega corporations control the world and wage war on one another with cybernetically enhanced agents. The objective of the game is to spread your syndicate's control globally, which is not too dissimilar from what the 2012 first-person shooter is. It's just that you're doing it through a first-person shooter, and you play as a guy named Miles Kilo. Where does he rank in your ranking of video game character names?
I mean, it's up there. I really can't think of anything better at on the spot here.
Is he above or below Waluigi?
Probably below.
All right, that's fair.
I think just for the sheer fact that Miles actually talks and Waluigi just wahs into microphones.
Yeah, Miles has an actual personality.
Does he?
He's got the personality of every 2012 protagonist.
All right, there we go.
Yeah. The above or below Pooh from Earthbound?
Oh, no, he's below.
Okay.
What a name.
All right. I'm just trying to gauge. And then finally, above or below Shadow the Hedgehog?
Probably above.
And Silver the Hedgehog?
Guess any hedgehog, you know?
Okay. Well, there's hedgehog tiers. You nominated Syndicate for the list this year, Matt.
I did.
What led you to that decision?
So, I forgot I forgot to do homework. I forgot to look up the episode name where I predicted the Syndicate mobile game that is still to be announced.
I'll dig for it. I'll see if I can find it.
For real though, relaying it back to our Wii Sports Killers, kind of both of my games I selected for that kind of go in a completely different direction. More so the Galaxy games, that franchise with Mario, just escaping the city of goo, and just your typical Mario levels for space and weird gravity mechanics with that. And then Tetris Effect, adding the yes, it's still Tetris. The Tetris doesn't really change too much, but there's an atmosphere to it, and it's more like an experience more so than just the puzzle game Tetris.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then, yeah, of course, we already talked about it, but, this went from, our action strategy isometric game to straight up just a first-person shooter now.
Yeah, which I'm honestly surprised in retrospect that EA didn't do more of this kind of stuff with... I'm surprised we didn't get a Command and Conquer first-person shooter. Or did we and I just forgot about it because it's...
I don't know.
Yeah.
I do. I also hesitate to say, yes or no.
336. The Free Cheese episode 336. Podcast name The Future of EA, published on February 3rd, 2020. This week on The Free Cheese, Syndicate Mobile. And the last line, here's where we were in 2020, just over 4 years ago. We talk about rumors of Silent Hill games and a new horror IP at Sony, check in with Nintendo's financial briefing, and predict the 14 games that EA will release before next year. So go check that out if you are... oh man, we were talking about Frostpunk and Yakuza, Sekiro. We had an episode. Patapon 2 seems to get slipped in there. I also see
bangers.
That episode is tagged with Byleth. So that must have been right when the Fire Emblem Three Houses character got added to Smash.
That checks out.
Yeah, this is all coming together. Oh, Syndicate. Well, but to that point, though, I mean, we kind of made a joke of Syndicate, not like, because of the game or anything like that. Just the fact that, like, thinking about what EA could do at that time, we looked at what they did the last time they needed to pull things out of the hole. And EA, much like many of these other big video game publishers, had bought and acquired so many studios and so many properties over the years that were just sitting dormant. It's something we're seeing right now with Activision, Blizzard, and that whole thing. And there's a lot of hope, which, may or may not fall short, that under Microsoft or Xbox's leadership, some of those old franchises could be revived, and we might actually get Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 HD. But, EA, we thought, might do the same thing with Syndicate and put it on mobile. And who knows, they still might. I could do a turn-based RTS, like a...
You're overthinking it. I thought it was just going to be a Drug Wars clone.
Yeah, but do like an asynchronous multiplayer thing where we each have our own syndicates. Hold on, wait, this is actually working now. We never actually thought out the Syndicate mobile game, but I think we might.
You're overthinking. Remember who you're talking about here.
All right, I'll figure out the microtransaction part
I mean,
later.
I'll take the pitch all day, but let's what we actually get. Let's be realistic.
The monetization of it, you would need to. I don't know. You can only like build so many. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Okay, so you have your syndicate. Every player has their syndicate, and you use GPS. Treat it just like you would treat like Ingress or any of those other Niantic games that they've done. And the more you interact with your real world, I feel like there is a game like this actually. The more you interact with your real world with NFC and all sorts of whatever other stuff you can do, plus things you do in the game, you expand your syndicate's power in the real world GPS. So you're kind of like virtually taking over the world in this fake video game. And then the way that you make the money on it, EA, is players can only grow so much in a 24-hour period because the crystals run out. You got to buy the crystals. So if you want to be able to charge up the lamps up the street to make your light shine brighter, crystals. It sells itself. It downloads itself, and then the crystals sell themselves. So prior to Syndicate 2012, which of course is predating the mobile game, had you played a Starbreeze game?
Yes. The Darkness. Specifically.
Yeah, we played The Darkness last year. And I don't remember where we ranked it then, but right now it is sitting at number 68. It's way lower than I thought.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not. All right. Well, our scores indicate we liked it.
Yeah, I feel like we had an okay time with it. I feel like my score for The Darkness is higher than my score for Syndicate will be. But
yes, for sure.
Yeah. Other than that, I've played... I don't know if I played Payday 2 or not. I played one of the Paydays. back then, at least a little bit of it.
I also play Payday 2, but it's like there's like a difference between like playing Payday 2 and playing Payday 2. I was more I played Payday 2 a little bit.
I over a weekend did a few matches of it once. That's me playing Payday 2. So like I understand first person shooters in that sense. But yeah, that's about it. I also I've
also played Brothers.
Yeah, me too, which I did not realize was them.
I didn't, until you mentioned it before recording, yeah.
And then I'd always heard good things about those Riddick games. Like I feel like people that got into the Riddick stuff, both the movies and the games, really got into the Riddick stuff, and it seemed like I didn't want to be one of those guys, so I didn't do that. But
and now you're not pre-ordering Arc 2.
Well, you take 3 years after showing me one trailer. I lose all my...
Oh, do we?
Let me back off.
Do we?
You know what, though? They do have to sell me on Metroid Prime 4. Probably, I'll buy it anyway, but what is this game? I want to see it at this point. Anyway. So we played The Darkness. We liked it fine. I didn't realize that going into playing this one. I just knew, okay, this is that 2012 game that I think people liked generally. What is it? How does it work?
So funny enough,
how does it work?
Oh, I was going to say, funny enough, like playing The Darkness last year, and when I think we were recording, when I was going through what they have done, I saw Syndicate. I was like, huh, interesting. Maybe this isn't as bad. So that was kind of the premise on putting into a potential list of games for this season.
Yeah, that's fair. And yeah, can you set up where we start? Kind of the first little opening bit of the game, what we experience.
Yeah, like it's the first bit when he just throw you into it. Oh yeah, yeah. You just kind of wake. Actually, I'm foggy on it now. Because I'm thinking you wake up. I was thinking it was when you get to the corporate building. No, but you're just kind of like thrown into it all of a sudden, and then you're like navigating around the world. But I forget what you're being shot at, aren't you?
Yeah.
It seems like you're picking up mid-mission, you're getting shot at, and you're like escaping, and then you finally end up escaping.
Yeah, and that's the way for them to like tutorialize. Like, here's how you crouch. Here's how you run.
Right.
Here's how you break walls open.
Right. Yes. They introduced some cool mechanics that you may never see again, or see twice.
Okay, thank you.
What?
I'm glad you found that too, because I thought I was maybe being nitpicky with some things when I was reviewing it, but yeah, okay.
Okay. But the thing that really got me at the start, so two things. The opening vignette of just like kind of explaining the world, I was like, okay, this is my cyberpunk heaven. Here we are. I'm amped. Let's do this. I'm ready. And then the game immediately gives you a lore dump of just intel. Did you go into the select menu and look at how much intel they gave you to have, to potentially read at that moment?
Not at that moment, no.
Oh, it is so much.
I went back to it. So I hit a point where I don't know, I unlocked some achievement, and then I peeked at the achievements, and I saw you got one for getting 50% of the lore, and it like listed out like the data, the business card, whatever. So I looked at my list to see like how many I have, and I was like, I gotta be close. Like, I've been picking up so much stuff. And I looked, and I was like, oh, nope, not getting that achievement.
No, but it just gave you like so much like of a dump where like if you're someone that's going to stop to read that right then, I made a joke in my notes like, would you like some coffee with your novel to start the game? Like it's a lot just at the beginning. Like, it doesn't even like ease you into it. It just dumps it.
And that's something where if this were still a strategy game, that kind of stuff would be neat, because you think about the fact that like you could set a bunch of things in motion in a strategy game, let it roll, and then you read the right-hand side of the screen. But in a first-person shooter where the whole point of the game is action and push forward and kill, it really, like, you know...
Unless you have clever stuff. Doom, 2016. Like, that is the one where, like, you know, they give you clever lore and it's kind of interesting to read, but it's, like, not necessary. In this game, it kind of, while not necessary, it definitely, I don't know, I feel like I missed some things. There's some, like, character introductions within those notes that I think I lose some context on later down the road, but
yeah,
no, it's just something I noted right away is just the intel dump.
It did the one time I really, because I read through some of it, and it wasn't bad, but the part that I found most useful was looking at the, like, intel on each boss you would encounter, because you would usually get some sort of insight on weak points or strategy, something like that. And then you also get to, like, their relation to Miles Kilo or Eurocorp or what, like, you get some sort of background that was, like, helpful in a way. Some of it was inferred. Like, you could tell that there's, like, a history between Miles and Merritt, right? But, like, you get more of that stuff by reading.
Yeah, so, again, just something I noticed early. But yeah, no, you go through this level, you escape, and then you end up back at your, I forget which company you even work for, but your company's a building where...
Yeah,
Eurocorp, where you are patched up in the software sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's the part that makes this game at least somewhat unique in a first-person shooter perspective. You have this... well, every character in the world, but in the game in particular, has a chip embedded in them, and they're all developed by these super corporations, and not too dissimilar from the original strategy game. Like, the whole idea is to spread your particular company's control as far as it can. But what's happened is all of these big corporations are sabotaging one another and battling one another, and they're all doing it through agents like Miles Kilo. So you have a chip that lets you... The thing I did, like, from the start, and then I kept, like, realizing it or remembering it the more I played the game and, like, just looked around and things, and I was, like... It was just a nice little detail that was cool. When you're playing in you're in first-person view, the idea is that, like, you have this sort of augmented reality vision, but when you look around the world, everything is identified. Like, if you look at a chair, there's a little thing that says chair. If you look at a window, it says window. Like, across the board, there's all these little, or across the screen, rather, there's all these little just notes and highlights about, like, the world around you. And it's like, you know, we're not too far from a future like that where you can walk around with some sort of thing overlaying you that identifies all the objects in front of you. Like, you know, and I don't know, that was neat. I liked that, and I liked the element of, like, I don't know, interacting with the world in a cybernetically enhanced way, as they describe it. But the one piece that makes the first-person shooting different is you have the ability to hack things. In this world, they call it breaching. So, we both played on Xbox 360, but it's your left bumper, it's your L1, but that's your breach button. And you use that to interact with, let's just say, items around the world. I don't want to say everything around the world, because it's certainly not everything around the world. But you can use it if an enemy throws a grenade at you. That's one of the early examples of, like, breach in one of the first few stages. You can look at the grenade, and as long as you're kind of, like, generally facing its direction and hold LB, it will diffuse the grenade, and then you can pick it up and throw it back at them. You can interact with doors or, in one level, elevators. There's other environmental things, but the other big piece is actually affecting AI opponents. So there's 3 main abilities you unlock. There's suicide, you get right away.
Yeah.
Then you unlock backfire, which lets you sort of jam an enemy's gun, or you cause their weapon to backfire. So,
and then they somehow lose defense. They become weaker.
Yeah, I guess it just shocks them so much that their guards let down, so they kind of fall to the ground, and whatever, you can attack them.
Yep, sure.
Yeah, and then about halfway through the game, you unlock your third ability.
Persuade. Let's persuade.
Persuade. Thank you. And persuade lets you convert an enemy opponent to fight for you for a short while. And then suicide's kind of self-explanatory. You just cause an enemy to kill themselves. However, you can also use that if they're grouped up with other players and they kill themselves. It has a small AoE, so you can take out, a group of 3 to 5 enemies or whatever with one person killing themselves. Persuade, they'll not only fight for you and shoot at other enemies, but at the end of it, they also kill themselves. So, kind of.
If all the enemies have been eliminated.
Sorry, thank you. So those are your 3 main breach abilities you have. And then you can breach elements of the world. And then you just have standard first-person shooting. There's a good spread of weapons, I'd say. You have standard assault rifle, some pistols, shotgun, and all of your weapons have a secondary function, which is neat. So there's one assault rifle that lets you kind of do a rapid fire, but also if you swap it to its alternate function, you can shoot through walls and pierce walls with your bullets. So it makes it easy. Also, the other ability you have, I should have mentioned that, is part of your cybernetic abilities, is 2009's Batman Arkham Asylum Detective Vision, because it's 2012 and every game needed to have Detective Vision. So you have Detective Vision in the game. And once you enable that, you can see through walls, you can see where enemies might be hiding, and then you can use some of those secondary functions to blast through walls or line up a grenade just right there's another weapon that has the grenade launcher built into it, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Generally, you are going through, there's some light treason occurring. I don't know if it's treason. There's some sabotage. There's some corporate espionage, and you're kind of thrown into the middle of all of it. But you do start to run into what seems to be, I guess we should. So Rosario Dawson's also in the game, in addition to Brian Cox. Which, how long did that? I walked into that room and I'm like, that sounds a lot like Rosario Dawson. And then next dude walks in and I'm like, sounds a lot like Brian Cox. And I pulled my phone out and looked it up and I was like, got it, starring Rosario Dawson and Brian Cox. Okay. It was I didn't expect that at all in this game. But of course, Brian Cox, most famous for his Tekken 8 recap. I think it's what he's most well known for. At some point, it seems like Rosario Dawson's character has betrayed the corporation. So you have to go hunt her down, but also she was kidnapped by another corporation in the process of her betraying your corporation. So you have to go fight them to find out why they kidnapped her, but then save her, but then figure out what happens. And then it turns out that she was good all along and the corporation was bad.
Dude, I'll never find it because it's been a few weeks now. But remember I texted you when I started it? I was like, it's not bad. The story setup's cool. But I know this is going to end up sucking. Yeah. Or something along those lines. I don't remember the exact quote, but yeah, that ended up happening. Yeah, it's very convoluted. She double crosses you twice. But then you save her. It's plot devices just to get you to the next level.
Yeah, because she didn't. The game ends with you and her walking off into the proverbial sunset. It's all good. You save her in the end because she's strapped to a chair so that she can be electrocuted or something. What was that one?
Get him breached. I don't know. Backfired. Yeah. Maybe persuaded. Who knows?
That could have been it. I found the text. I can't wait for you to play Syndicate. I'm real curious what your feelings end up being on it. I'm about 75% done, I think. I think that's all you said.
Oh no, it was up. It was when I first started.
Fair enough.
No, because the real curious was when I started to turn.
Oh, there we go. Just got through Milestone 4. So far, it's been fun. Better weapons than the darkness. I like the cyberpunk setting. The story has potential, but it will probably turn to crap. Then, like, within minutes, Milestone 5, it's, like, slightly frustrating, but ridiculously fun.
That was the minigun level.
The minigun level was my favorite part. I was so stoked on that. Yeah. If they could have done 3 more levels like that, I would have had a good time. In fact, you get the minigun later for a different fight.
But that fight sucks.
It was not as fun. Because despite the fact that there's little red lights going off to tell you where the enemies are coming out, I never knew until like the final encounter that like, I gotta look at the red light. That's where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Potential. So I think I want to go into a little bit here. Like, it's the lack of abilities in this game. You get 3.
You get 3, and there's a grid of power-ups that you barely get to upgrade.
Right, that too. But is that to encourage replayability?
So I couldn't figure out if it was to encourage replayability or if I was supposed to be killing more innocent people. Because it seemed like every time you got upgrades, it was because you'd killed some important figure and you'd taken their chip from inside of them.
But they also have story.
Thinking, it was all built into story beats. But then it was like, if everybody has a chip, am I supposed to like walk it? Like that one bar scene that had the really good background music it was a banger. That one, like, was I supposed to just go in and like grab the first person I saw, or like even the smaller moments where there's just like one scientist in a room and he doesn't attack you? Like, was I supposed to murder him and take his chip?
Yeah, I mean, the upgrade system was fine, but yeah, it seemed like way too many different. It seemed like way too narrow of a upgrade structure.
Yeah, I did like that you were you get bonuses by picking upgrades that were near one another on that grid.
Yes,
that was neat. That's a nice little like incentive to keep your upgrades close on the tree together. But yeah, to your point, you get 3 powers and that's it. And you get 2 of them pretty early. The third you get later on, and by the time you get it, you've already kind of adapted to the rest of the gameplay.
Well, by the time you get it, the enemies are bullet sponges at that point. And like, they aren't doing enough damage to really help you too much. If anything, they maybe distract.
Yeah.
It's very. I know this isn't an RPG, and what I'm about to say is compared to an RPG. But like the year before, Deus Ex Human Revolution is out. There are upteen billion powers I can build my Adam Jensen to have, and again, I know RPG. There's multiple ways of going through these levels, and there's speech power. There's stuff like that. But like I've done all this cool shit. Hypothetically, of course, but I've done all this cool shit the year before, and then I played this game, and it's a tough sell. It's a very tough sell.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, it felt like it reflects the era that it was released in, right? Like it's 2012.
I agree with that.
A year out from new consoles. And this just felt like I don't think this was in, this wasn't an Unreal Engine 3 game like everything else was, but like because I think they used their own proprietary thing. I don't even think they were using, what's it called?
It's called Union Engine.
Yeah, right. So it wasn't like
it's a Starbreeze thing.
We definitely had that fatigue with UE3, like by the end of that generation, right? But I think just generally game design got really stale by the end of the generation. Conversely, we had some of the like greatest things coming out by the end of it, so it's not like everything was, affected by that. But I think especially if you look at EA and Activision and Ubisoft at this point, like Ubisoft at this point is like way too deep in on Assassin's Creed, and it's annualized and they're trying to figure out what to do with it next, and they're not quite figuring it out. Everybody's struggling for like more power and more availability of systems. Like the 360 and the PS3 are at this point, well, they're just more than like 6 and 5 years respectively old, and like it's not that long, but it's longer than we were used to in a console generation. This is before any sort of half-step thing like we've gotten with the Pro consoles in the last gen. And it definitely, I think, like in hindsight, it put a strain on things, on what we were seeing done in games. And I think this was just like, it was safe, right? Like, that's what it felt to me. It was like, it's a first-person shooter. It has some sci-fi stuff that's a cool setting. There's some abilities, because you want to have abilities. There's an upgrade. Like, there's things to do it. Like, if you made a checklist of things to put in a video game, you could technically check all of these boxes. But
things to put in a video game and things to put in a Cyberpunk game. But like, you just checked the box. You didn't do anything to reinvent the wheel here.
Yeah, it's because even the abilities themselves aren't that fun to do. And I honestly kept forgetting I had them.
The first time you see a suicide thing, you're like, oh wow, that's kind of crazy. Sure. And then you start using it now in the it's just like meh. Like, I don't know, like, and it's slow too.
Yeah.
Like I understand like the whole like reason why it's slow, like, for the theme or whatever, but like it's slow, so it's very tough to use in active combat as
when you're like
in a first person shooter.
You need those abilities in like crazy heavy fire. Yeah.
So so like the powers are like that's such a tough. It's very tough to have weak powers in a Cyberpunk game.
I think those were weak, and I think you mentioned it before, but like in that opening tutorial, they teach you how to sprint through like a weak wall to break it, and I think you do it one other time in the rest of the game, maybe two.
How about the when and I think it's like the second or third milestone when your Eurocopes getting invaded, like there was that glass panel that you had to freeze, or you had to do something to it, and then you could shoot through it. I was like, oh, that has so much potential for cover mechanics.
Yeah.
I don't think I saw it again.
No, you didn't. There's that, and then there's this weird thing where, like, sorry, forgive me, I forget what year this game takes place in, but 2069, so it's out there, right? I know that right now, in 2024, that not every single, like, electronic component in the world has been computerized, but, like, you're telling me in 2069, when everyone has chips in their head that let them view everything in the world around them and do all of this stuff, that some buildings are going to have elevators that I manually have to push a button to go up and down with? Like, I'm not,
I never
not even in like a nitpicky way, but like from a gameplay perspective, there's a mission early on where the entire premise of that is to raise and lower elevators, but only from the outside of them. And then when you're inside of it, you still can't hack it to go up or down it. But then later on in the game, like 7 or 8 missions later, there's elevators you have to get on where you manually have to push a button. It just like, that part to me was like, not immersion breaking, but just like, why can I not hack everything? I should be able to breach everything on the screen. All the little items that are lit up with little notes of like, this is this is that. I couldn't do anything with.
So that actually, I'm glad he brought that, because I didn't think about the elevators thing, but this is when I thought of the same thing, just it happened in a different way. The boss fights.
Yeah.
I think all of them require you to breach armor. But when when the bosses are introduced, they do this whole little vignette. It's like, oh, encryption, you can't hack encryption.
Yeah, you can't hack this boss.
Can't hack him. You can't use suicide or whatever. But then I'm breaching him to lower his armor. Like,
right.
What is this? What are we doing?
Yeah, that part didn't make any sense to me. I also found the game didn't reward exploration. You said before, but it's very linear. But that was like such a discouragement because it does have a lot of collectibles. And I don't know where the heck they are. Because I felt like I was trying to find things. And I would go out of my way to, I don't know, I'd see a corner and it would look like I can get back there. Let me go back there. You're in and out of so many buildings that have little offices and things like that. And I'd walk around things and like, you just find dead ends. Or you find doors you can't interact with. You find there's just nothing, right? Like there's so many things that you just can't do. And there's nothing to find. So for all those collectibles we missed, I don't know where they're hiding them. Because I'm not saying I like scoured every edge of the map, but I feel like I was going out of my way quite a bit, and very rarely was I rewarded for doing so. So then it made me want to just stay on the path and just get to the end anyway. I don't know.
And you talked about the linear thing. I don't know if there was a different idea for this game or whatever, because there's definitely some Halo 5 levels in this game. Whereas a milestone where you walk through a corridor, you talk, and then you're on to the next milestone.
Yep. There were
much
like
Halo
3 or
Halo
of those.
Halo 5 has like 2 missions like that, where it's like, go talk to this person. All right, next mission. So I don't know if this had different plans of maybe doing something weird, or this just they literally just padding so they could say they had, what was it, 26 milestone? What was the milestone? It was like in the 20s.
It was 20 even, yeah.
Oh, 20. Okay. Yeah, so what you're thinking, like, oh my gosh, like 20 milestones. The game's 5 hours.
Yeah, it's not long at all.
To his credit, it might be the best thing about this game.
Fair.
It gets in and it gets out before it really overstays its welcome. But like, back in the day with all the different competition and spending $60 on this thing for, I don't know, they really try to get you to replay these levels and just very dumb, like, oh, try to get more headshots next time you play because you got the highest, your this headshot count wasn't as good as your other one, and then the 4-player, like, there was like no level where I thought like, oh man, I really wish, besides just having the extra gun, like, oh man, I really wish there was a cool flanking. Like, I wish I had someone flanking around the side here. It's just, just extra gut. Like, it doesn't... There's nothing fun to the multiplayer besides just, like, split screen and just shooting at the same stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't get to play it, right? But you don't think...
I'm assuming it's the same thing.
Yeah, but, I mean, do you think it would have added to our...
No. Nothing more than... Like, when we played Perfect Dark multiplayer, like, there was a fun sandbox there with, like, it was like predating Halo in a way, with, like, you have this sandbox opportunity, you can have so much fun in different ways. Like, this was just, it would have been the campaign again, just through, I don't know, and when you do, like, split screen Halo, yeah, like, okay, campaign, but Halo is wide open enough where you can actually do the flanking maneuvers. This game's not... It doesn't have that. There was like 2 areas where I could maybe see an advantage of, like, someone setting up shop in front and someone going around. Like, I don't know. And maybe I'm wrong, but were there any like cool tag team abilities to use? Or if you both breach someone at the same time, something unique happens, or like if you persuade a guy, then they use suicide. Does that, does a different outcome happen? Like, I doubt anything like that happens.
No, because it didn't have a head-to-head multiplayer mode. It just had co-op. It was a different campaign, apparently.
Oh, okay. All right.
9
I'll
missions.
take back some of what I said.
You choose from 4 classes: Medic, Spec Ops, Assault, and Generic. I love the Generic class. You do have different abilities.
Oh, okay. All right. Then maybe I'll step back on what I said then with the multiplayer. I thought it was just straight up same campaign. But they do like a Portal 2 thing where campaign's completely different and mechanics change just because you have 2 portals now all of a sudden, or I guess 4 portals now all of a sudden. I should
say it's not necessarily different abilities like breaching abilities, but
Yeah, but still, I honestly thought it was just the same game. I didn't think it was a different campaign. Yeah, well, all right, well, that's cool. But again, though, we couldn't play because servers were shut down.
I know. I looked to see if there were custom servers, but it's difficult to do on a 360.
Let's talk about the performance of this game real quick.
Oh.
Did your game crash at all?
I don't think so.
Did it soft lock at all?
Huh. I don't remember. No, I had no problems on this one.
Okay.
How did you have that frequently?
2 boss battles. I had multiple soft locks. Or no, sorry. The Ramon fight, which is the Ramon fight, I think is the one where he's hopping around from like billboard-esque like scaffolding.
Oh yeah,
hopping around. He does like the
launcher.
grenades. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have to get him onto like that one platform, and he breach it and whatever. He bugged out for me twice. He stayed stuck on one of the scaffolding, just indefinitely.
Oh.
And I was struggling with the boss fight too. So like, I couldn't dodge the rockets. I didn't realize you just go sideways, dance around them. I thought they would track me given sideways. It took me a lot of deaths to realize that.
Oh yeah.
So like that was happening, and then like when I felt like I was like, oh, all right, we're making progress, he would soft lock twice.
Huh? No, I didn't have that.
Same
at
spot,
all.
same exact spot. And then the invisible boss fight. I forgot the dude's name. I could look. I don't even care. It's not even worth mentioning. The guy that goes invisible. I think it. So one is soft locked. It's or I think the game just broke or froze. Now I didn't write down what happened, but when I said fight, I have fight 2 here. I think there were weird optics. Like I had like the color was wrong. I have it here.
Huh.
Or that's how it was supposed to be, and that's what it was. The optics were all messed up. Fight 2 had different optics than Fight 1, because I think I died. I think I died. So Attempt 1 had different optics than Attempt 2, so I don't know which one was the bugged out one.
Oh, interesting. I mean, for me, that boss fight in my memory is just like a soft gray-green color. And then dude is, cloaking and uncloaking as I fire off the EMP blast.
Yeah, I guess I should have wanted more specific details, but the invisible boss fight bugged out with either weird optics in Fight 2, or that's how it was supposed to be, and it had clear optics in Attempt 1.
Interesting. I'm not sure. But, I didn't have that. I wonder if that was maybe the disc.
Maybe.
Give it the benefit of the doubt, but still.
All right. Well,
even still, that sucks. It's never good when a game is like.
I'm bumping a point in gameplay then, because I thought maybe it was broken on your end, but yeah, no. That was the only time that was those boss fights. I think everything else ran fine. No weird frame drops or anything like that. Just
I don't remember anything bad in that regard. It was okay. It felt fine. It ran as I expected it to. There were a couple of frustrating gameplay things, but that was mostly just weird difficulty things or whatever. But
so that added to my frustration, I think, of this game too.
No, I get that for sure. I'll close out on a couple things I liked. I appreciated the steady addition of different enemy types and new obstacles or threats in the world. I felt like there was a nice introduction of things all the way up through some of the final missions where you just got how do I deal with this type of enemy? Oh, I have to shut down his shield and then do this and that kind of stuff. I thought that was a nice challenge to keep the gameplay refreshing when it otherwise would have been stale. And I think we've played some games that did not do those. I think even The Darkness last year was not one that did that kind of thing.
No, and it's funny because I kept asking myself throughout the where's the EMP guy? When's he where? He has to be around, but then he finally shows up.
Which that was cool. I like that happened.
No, it's an interesting challenge for sure. In those arenas.
Even the final boss fight, it was neat having to raise and lower the things to hide, and yeah, it wasn't the best, but like still it was a different mechanic.
Yeah, when you could target them. That was my issue. I could never like target the right one. I would get like the far one instead of the close one.
Yeah.
And it would fuck me all up. But yeah, I that final boss fight, I was more mad about it that day. In hindsight, I'm not as mad about it anymore after I beat it. But like I didn't know what to do with the twins. Like I thought I had to kill them both at the same time. I didn't realize could just walk over and just like be done with the one.
Yeah.
So it's like part of my frustration with that battle was like, oh, let me time my kills for for them both, so they can't revive one another. And then when they both got up at the same time, I just yelled at them, "What?" Like
that was one where I read the thing, and that gave me the hint of like, yeah. So but even then, I think I like stumbled into it because I like just was close enough to one of them that I saw the right stick thing pop up. And I was like, oh, I'll try punch. Okay, sure.
Well, that's when I was like, well, all right, so I got to do something. So when that's when I finally was like, I'm going to run and then I saw what happened. Okay. Yeah.
And then this is subtle, but there's the moment where like Miles Kilo's chip gets shut down. And I just felt like the way that they did that sequence was like very well rendered and animated and stuff. That was neat. But yeah, I think this is for me, listeners, you can read the full review I wrote up, and Matt's as well, on the website under this podcast episode. For me, my final reviewer score was a 6. I think it's like it's right there. It's not a game that is I don't think it's bad. I think it's fine. I don't think it's great. I don't think you're going to have a bad time with it. I think there's definitely better games you could play, but Did you land on a final score yet?
I'm inputting it now into our math.
Oh. But yeah, I mean,
4.7.
Oh, I just meant like what was your standalone like reviewer score? I didn't do the math yet on the full breakdown.
Oh. What, my congregate score? Like
not after all the calculations done with our categories. I just mean like your reviewer category, would you give it?
Oh, a 4.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Matt, on our scale, Matt called it playable but not memorable. Where, oh man, we have that phrased in a way that, I don't know. I said it's a solid game and worth your time. That's where my score lines up. I feel like that's not inaccurate.
No, it's not. This is not like a broken game. I wouldn't even go to say, like I said at the top, like this is not a bad game. There's just a lot of like interesting design choices that easily could have been better, and there is some frustrating things along the way. Then it's tough. I would say I can't think of another direct comparison besides Human Revolution, and that came out the year before. And there's just all these different tools and things to in the cyberpunk world that has like it's a similar story. It's more about the social aspect of the this is like Syndicate's corporation to corporation. Human Revolution is like corporation to the people, but like similar themes. A big corp bad. And they have agents and shit like this. I don't know. This story sucked.
Oh. I think I have all those Deus Ex games through PlayStation Plus or something like that, so I should at some point play them.
And you're gonna play it, and you're gonna see like, oh, these well, unless you have the director's cut, which I haven't played, but like if you play the original version, you're gonna be like, oh man, these boss battles are terrible. Like
really?
there's some bad, like every other aspect of that game. You're like you have free decision on like how to approach the situation. The boss fights are like guns only in the original. They've said they redesigned the boss fights in director's cut.
Okay, well that's nice.
But no, and that game has problems too. Like the shooting is bad. Like any time you should play that whole game in stealth. As soon as you start shooting a weapon, you're gonna hate everything.
Mm.
And that's why the boss battles are so bad. Like, but with that game having its problems, I would still recommend that again and again compared to this, because I thought that, there's just more cyberpunk abilities, and you can have a better time in a cyberpunk world with certain expectations of what a cyberpunk game brings.
How about Cyberpunk 2077? How does that compare to Syndicate?
So I was thinking about making that comparison, but it's not fair because it's so. I don't know. It's had a few years to bake in the oven. I ended up really liking Cyberpunk 2077. It has its problems, but there's tons of different weapons, tons of different approaches. Your power, you can do whatever the hell you want to with your powers. Then your build and whatever, that. And again, that's like 100-hour RPG. It's not 100 hours. I would say it's probably more in the 40 to 50 range, depending on how much side stuff you do. And this is a 6-hour first-person linear experience. So again, I know what I'm comparing here, but it's not. It's better to compare this to Human Revolution than even Mankind Divided or Cyberpunk.
That's fair. Speaking of comparisons, it is time that we add Syndicate to the list and compare it to the rest of our entries. Listeners, I know we kind of talked about our scoring on this, but scoring has nothing to do with where a game ranks on the list. That's just our review. The list is decided by, fate ultimately, but also heart and gut and just sort of how we're feeling tonight. And if it's your first time looking at the list, you might wonder why some games are above or below others, and so do we. But tradition must continue. I'm trying not to do the thing that my body wants to do and just look at the darkness and say, well, it's worse than that. So separate from that, I'm just sort of firing at the middle of the road here and just saying, do I like it better than Amplitude? No. Do I like it better than Perfect Dark? No. Do I like it better than The Darkness?
No.
No.
I'm below it, underneath of our. All right, maybe above. Maybe I guess we already split it up once. Our little Game Boy pack here.
Yeah.
Maybe below Super Star Wars. Or my floor here is WWF Betrayal. I like this better than Betrayal.
Okay, that's fair. I think I like this. I like it more than Star Wars. I would almost say I like this more than Metal Gear Solid, and that's the Game Boy Metal Gear Solid for the listeners who didn't catch that episode. But I'm okay if you want to keep it below that.
I'm actually fine with it above Metal Gear Solid, because there are some very frustrating parts in that game.
Do you like it better than Rogue? I know. I know it's tough.
Such a tough one. I think yes, yes.
All right, but here's the problem. If we keep climbing, we're going to get closer and closer to the darkness. Is it better than Nightmare?
I don't think so.
Okay. You want to put it between Nightmare and Rogue?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm actually, the more I think, do I walk it back below Rogue?
I'm good with that. I know Rogue is a completely different experience, but, I feel like I would play Rogue again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I will play Rogue again. I don't think I'll ever touch Syndicate again.
No.
All right, let's do it there. The new 72. Can't win them all. And don't I know that for real? In our next game, MLB Slugfest 2004. That's right, a baseball game is hitting the list next week, just in time for opening day around the United States in the old Major League Baseball. Stay tuned for that. Until then, thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye.